My name is Giancarlo Fiorella. I am the Director of Research and Training at a place called Bellingcat. Just curiosity, who's heard about Bellingcat before? A couple people? Okay. Oh, all right, great. Wow, that's really nice. I'm used to people not knowing, so this is nice. Bellingcat is a really interesting place to work at and to do research in because it is equal parts sort of news organization. We do have researchers who conduct investigations into what's happening in the world, and we make findings and we publish them on the internet for people to read. But we also do things a little bit differently. When we look around us and we think about who our peers are, who we think we're sort of in a bit of a competition with, we look at the New York Times visual investigations team. We look at the Washington Post's visual forensics unit. We look at forensic architecture. If these names are familiar to you, these are people who work with videos, with images to make findings about, usually it's atrocities and other crimes that are happening around the world. But what sets us apart from those organizations in a way that is really interesting is that we have always been really transparent and open to the public, playing an active role in the investigations that we carry out. So we don't have too much of a distinction between a reader, somebody who visits our website, somebody who's a fan of our work, and somebody who's actively contributing to research that we're conducting. We're very, very, very open to having our community participate in the work that we do. And we've done this historically in different ways. It used to be that we did it primarily on Twitter. Of course, Twitter now is a horrendous place, but it used to be better. And so Bellingcat's been around for about a decade. And I would say that, you know, if it weren't for Twitter, Bellingcat maybe wouldn't exist, at least not in the way that it does today. Because a lot of the investigations that Bellingcat conducted over the decade that it's existed happened thanks to or facilitated through or were made possible by connections that Bellingcat researchers were making with each other on Twitter. And so again, I just want to stress that Bellingcat is interesting in that way. We are always looking for ways to involve people in research and to bring people together who have the motivation, the passion, the interest, the skills to do important work and give them a platform to publish that work. And I want to talk to you about sort of our current community portal. Given that Twitter is such a cesspool at the moment, we've sort of been looking around for where else can we build a community of people who want to help us out with the work. And I want to talk to you about our Discord server. So who knows about Discord? Does anybody use Discord here? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So a lot of folks, right? So Discord is for primarily what? Like how did somebody want to tell me, like, what do you use Discord for?
Talking to your friends while gaming.
Yeah, it's a gaming platform, right? It was, I mean, it is, but it was originally, right? So that's what I used it for many years. It's you make a server with your friends. It's like a chat room, and then yeah, you can talk to your friends where you're playing whatever game you're playing. Now you don't have to play games while you're using Discord. You can, but you can also do investigative research, and so that's what we've sort of facilitated with the creation of our Discord server. So we have an open server on Discord. Oh, sorry, I'm creating a thread for this thing that I want to show you in a minute. And this Discord server is, if you've never used Discord, it's kind of, a lot of people say, it's kind of confusing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I promise you, if you want to sit down for 5 minutes and, sort of get used to Discord and see how it works, it's very intuitive. You join the server. It's kind of like a chat room from, the early internet. And we have it set up into different kinds of channels. So for example, we have a regional section where we have threads about different conflicts. So there's a thread on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and there are people in here every day who are community members, and they're posting news and they're discussing news and they're talking about events that are happening. We also have channels that we've set up specifically for work. So we have a channel that is for geolocations having to do with Ukraine. Geolocation is the process that is what we call the process of determining where an image was taken. So if you see a picture or a video on the internet, usually somebody tells you, like, I took this picture here, or this picture is from this place at this time. one of the things that we do at Bellingcat is we verify that. So we take steps to determine with 100% certainty precisely where that picture was taken and when it was taken. And so our community, since the early days of the invasion of Ukraine, got together and they started a project where they were geolocating videos of civilian harm and military activities in Ukraine. So they've been doing this for 2 years. These are people who are, bakers, teachers, bus drivers during the day, and then in the evenings they hang out in the Bellingcat Discord server and they contribute to this project, which is completely grassroots. They set it up themselves, and we just give them a space to organize and do the work. And I am getting ready. I was setting up this room earlier because we're launching a crowdsourcing effort in the server tonight. And it has to do with this investigation that we published earlier this week. Has anybody ever heard of 1xBet? It's one of these like betting, that are everywhere now. Like every commercial is for a betting company. One of the bigger ones, at least in Europe, is called 1xBet. And they have all kinds of sponsorship deals with Barcelona FC and PSG. There's all these like really famous soccer clubs in Europe that are sponsored by 1xBet. So one of our researchers, Ross Higgins, conducted an investigation where he discovered that 1xBet runs these like really hellish warehouses where they pay people to play sports, like play sports, quote unquote, and then people bet on them. So it's like really dystopian. Like I'm used to being depressed about like the election in the US or like war crimes that are happening in the world. But like this is like really depressing in a new way that I wasn't familiar with. And so Ross like worked on this project for months, and they recorded these videos that again, they're streaming live at like right now. You could go to the 1xBet website and look and watch these. And they're just like the most horrific, like imagine like hours and hours and hours of like people like almost like half in a cage playing soccer, it's horrific, right? And so again, the idea here is that you would bet on this. Like if you're a compulsive gambler, you would bet like who's going to win, this guy or this guy, right? So imagine, these are really horrific conditions. Some of these are children we discovered. There's minors or what we think are minors in some of these videos. And again, this isn't some like underground, this is like the company that is sponsored. Like if you watch an FC Barcelona game, there's like 1xBet advertisement like all across the pitch, right? It's a major, major sponsor. So one of the things that we were doing was we were trying to find out like where are these warehouses? Like where is this actually happening, right? And Ross was able to discover through geolocation that some of these places were he found out like it's this building in the city in Ukraine. So there was one outside of Kiev that was hosting some of these events, and there was a couple in Russia. He was able to do this. This is an investigation that took months and months and months and months. But there's a whole bunch of other places that we could not discover. We didn't know where they were, and we want to know like where are these warehouses where these things are happening, right? So if you're interested in the article, you go to bellingcat.com. It's the first story. He talks you through like how he found some of them. So we have something like 36 images that we could not geolocate. We don't know where they are. So that's where the crowdsourcing comes in, because we have a Discord server that has 30,000 members. These people were really dedicated and they're really excited about this kind of research. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to create a special kind of thread, and we're going to say, hey, we need help with geolocating these images. So we're going to give them a batch of 12 first. So we're going to post it in the server. People are going to be able to look at them and see them. And then we're going to give them the space to work through the challenge and like find out where this picture was taken. The idea is that they'll help us do it. And the idea is that it would go into a follow-up investigation, and those people would get bylines. So we would, communicate with them. Sometimes people don't want the spotlight, but if, we'll communicate with them, we'll ask them if they want to have a byline, we'll bring them into an investigative process, and then suddenly, you're contributing to an investigation that might have like lots of real-world impact, and it's published, and again, it sort of showing you the community member to Bellingcat researcher pipeline. So yes, that is sort of an example of a crowdsourcing investigation, what we call crowdsourcing investigation happening in one of our community spaces. This is the most recent one. Again, I haven't put it up yet. It's going to be up there tonight if you're interested in keeping up with it or maybe contributing. And what else should I say? I think that's it. Oh, the last thing I'll say is that, this is really fundamental to the work that Bellingcat does. We have changed a lot over the last years. We went from a completely kind of like anarchist group of people who like had no office and like there was no administrative staff. Now we have like a fundraiser and we have to like do, yearly audits of our finances. So we've changed a little bit, but this element of we want everybody to come help us. And if you want to help out, great. Like let's join hands and do it together. That hasn't changed. And that's really, really, really central to the work that we do and our identity. So, if you check back in a couple months, you might see an update to the story, and it will have a byline with like 30 people's names because they're the Discord members who, would help us hopefully find these images. I think that's it. So thank you.